They called her a hero, a dedicated nurse, a guardian angel in the neonatal unit. But behind Lucy Letby's soft smile and quiet presence was a monstrous truth hiding in plain sight. She was one of Britain's most prolific serial killers, not of hardened criminals or random strangers, but of innocent, premature babies. And the most horrifying part? She did it while trusted completely by grieving parents and exhausted doctors, all under the bright lights of a hospital meant to save lives. This is the true story of Lucy Letby, the nurse who murdered babies and almost got away with it. This is one of those stories that stays with you, the kind that makes you question how something so horrific could happen in a place built on care and trust. It's disturbing, it's tragic, and you won't believe just how far it went. It's about the most vulnerable lives being taken by someone meant to protect them. Lucy Letby was the last person anyone would suspect. Born in 1990, she was raised in Hereford, England by loving parents. Friends described her as quiet, friendly, and studious. She volunteered at hospitals during school and studied nursing at the University of Chester. Her ambition? To work with newborns, and she made it happen. In 2011, she joined the Countess of Chester Hospital's neonatal unit. The unit specialized in caring for premature or ill babies, tiny, fragile lives dependent on ventilators, feeding tubes, and constant monitoring. Letby was soon seen as a diligent and compassionate nurse. Doctors trusted her. Families thanked her. She was the one who would stay late, who cried with parents, who celebrated milestones. But between 2015 and 2016, something started to go terribly wrong. The baby deaths begin. During this 12-month period, the Countess of Chester's neonatal unit experienced a surge in unexplained infant deaths and near-fatal collapses. Statistically, neonatal units expect occasional losses, but the rise here was sharp and suspicious. Babies who had been stable suddenly deteriorated. Others stopped breathing without warning. Some were resuscitated but suffered brain damage. Post-mortem exams often revealed air in the bloodstream, liver injuries, or strange levels of insulin or sodium. Behind the scenes, a quiet panic began. Senior doctors and consultants started raising concerns, but no one could agree on what was happening. Infection? Staff shortages? Faulty equipment? No one suspected Lucy Letby. Not yet. Patterns in the darkness. The pattern was slow to emerge. The deaths weren't back-to-back, and each had some plausible explanation. But eventually, one chilling detail became impossible to ignore. Lucy Letby was the common factor. Whenever Letby was on shift, babies died. When she was off, they didn't. She was present at every single suspicious death or near death, and still it took months before the hospital fully acknowledged it. Consultants like Dr. Stephen Brary repeatedly warned senior management, but Letby was considered a model employee, and some even defended her emotionally, arguing she was simply unlucky to have been on shift during these tragedies. One manager allegedly accused the doctors of conducting a witch hunt. Another moved Letby to a clerical role, not because they believed she was guilty, but because they wanted to remove tension. And during that time, the deaths stopped. Her methods. When Letby was finally arrested in 2018, after years of investigation, her methods came to light. They were as varied as they were horrific: injecting air into the bloodstream, causing embolisms, strokes, and heart failure; forcing air into feeding tubes, leading to bloated organs and fatal pressure; overfeeding milk, flooding fragile lungs or causing gut damage; poisoning with insulin, drastically lowering blood sugar, leading to seizures or comas; physical assaults, including liver trauma consistent with forceful blows. She kept no consistent method, making it harder to spot a pattern. But her goal remained the same: sudden, catastrophic collapse. Perhaps the most chilling aspect was that she often stayed to help resuscitate her victims. Sometimes she was the first to alert the crash team. She would console the parents, light candles with them, take photos of the deceased. It was as if she was relishing the grief, ingratiating herself with the families while hiding the truth. In some cases, she even sent sympathy cards to bereaved parents. One message read, "There are no words to make this time any easier. Thinking of you today and always." She targeted twins and triplets. In one case, she killed both siblings on separate days, returning to complete what she started. She often re-entered the room after the baby's death, lingering or inserting herself into the parents' grieving process. Some families later described her as strangely fixated and too emotionally involved. At the time, they thought it was compassion. In hindsight, it was control. The investigation. After the hospital involved police in 2017, a long and complex investigation began. It involved reviewing thousands of medical records, consulting top forensic experts, and interviewing Letby multiple times. Investigators found something else: notes and handwritten letters Letby had kept at her home. One said, "I am evil. I did this." It was scribbled again and again, surrounded by scribbles, exclamations, and contradictory statements like, "I haven't done anything wrong," and "Why has this happened?" These weren't confessions in the traditional sense, but prosecutors argued they showed deep internal turmoil and a subconscious admission of guilt. They also found a disturbing fixation with death. She had conducted late-night internet searches for the grieving families, reading tributes and news coverage. She accessed babies' medical files without clinical reason. She collected keepsakes, notes, name cards, sympathy cards, like tokens. Other evidence included records of Letby accessing the files of babies she wasn't caring for, internet searches for grieving families, and a pattern of actions that lined up perfectly with her work schedule. Police uncovered deleted messages, Facebook searches, and dozens of chilling text exchanges. She would joke with colleagues just hours after a death, even flirting or laughing during breaks. One conversation revealed her saying, "It's been a really bad night, but at least I got to see X again," which is believed she may have written after a particularly traumatic event in the neonatal unit, potentially following the death or collapse of a baby, showing her disturbing obsession and superficial grief. The trial. Lucy Letby's trial began in 2022 and lasted 10 months. It became one of the longest murder trials in British history. Letby faced 22 charges, including the murder of 7 babies and the attempted murder of 10 more. The prosecution called her a cold, calculating killer who enjoyed the power of life and death. They described her actions as deliberate and premeditated, often carried out when no one was looking. They illustrated each case in harrowing detail, showing how Letby acted without empathy or panic. The courtroom heard from devastated parents. Some sobbed on the stand, describing how Letby held their child, reassured them, and even attended funerals, only for them to learn later that she was the one who had taken their baby's life. The defense argued Letby was being scapegoated for a flawed hospital system. They claimed she had been in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that her notes were the writings of someone under immense emotional strain, not guilt. They attacked the reliability of medical data and suggested the hospital was trying to deflect blame. But the jury didn't buy it. In August 2023, Lucy Letby was found guilty on 14 counts, including 7 murders. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a sentence reserved for only the most heinous criminals in the UK. Why did she do it? The biggest unanswered question is, why? Letby gave no clear motive. Psychiatrists and behavioral experts have speculated endlessly. Some believe she craved attention or wanted to be seen as a hero during emergencies. Others suggest she enjoyed the control, deciding who lived and who died. Some experts see parallels with Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a disorder where caregivers harm those in their care for attention. Others believe it was narcissism turned sadistic. She appeared to thrive on being at the center of tragedy. Her notes hinted at a fractured self-image, alternating between self-pity and guilt, and a disturbing fascination with her role in the chaos. She wrote lines like, "I am not good enough," "I am a horrible, evil person," and "I will never have children or marry." Whatever the reason, she never showed remorse. Throughout the trial, she sat emotionless. She even refused to appear in court for her sentencing, denying the families the closure of seeing her face one last time. The fallout. The Letby case sparked massive outrage in the UK and globally. There were urgent calls for NHS reform, particularly around whistleblower protection. Several consultants had raised concerns years earlier and were silenced, threatened, or ignored. Some were forced to apologize to Letby. This chilling response allowed her to kill more babies before being caught. Parents of the victims have since spoken out, demanding accountability not just for Letby, but for the hospital executives who failed to act. The UK government announced a public inquiry into the hospital's handling of the case. It's a stark reminder that evil can flourish when those in power refuse to listen. The British Medical Association and other bodies have renewed calls for strengthening whistleblower protections and independent investigations into NHS complaints. Families want answers, but they also want lasting change. The most chilling moments. Some of the most haunting details from the case include Letby searching for the families on Facebook just hours after their babies died, keeping a baby's name tag as a trophy, texting colleagues with fake concern after causing a collapse, injecting air into twin boys, killing one, and attempting to kill the other hours later, holding babies as they died, then comforting the parents with rehearsed sympathy, writing dark, contradictory notes, confessing guilt, then denying everything. These weren't impulsive acts. They were cold, planned, calculated. Lucy Letby is now known as one of the most evil killers in UK history. But the real horror is how long she was allowed to operate undetected because of her image, her job, and the unwillingness of those around her to believe the unthinkable. She looked like any other nurse. She smiled like one, worked like one, and she used that trust to end the lives of the most vulnerable victims imaginable. If you found this case disturbing, let us know your thoughts in the comments. What should have been done differently? Should hospital managers face criminal charges for ignoring warnings? And don't forget to subscribe for more twisted true crime stories from the Crim Vault. We've got more real horror coming your way. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and keep your doors locked.